I'm Chris.
I'm Sandy.
And this is Parenting Autism. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 150 of the Parenting Autism podcast. We're glad you're here for this 250th anniversary of the independence of the United States of America.
Happy birthday to the USA.
And, well, let's get started.
Okay.
Shall we?
Yes.
Okay, you're the woman with the plan.
Yeah.
Usually it's the man with the plan, but, you know.
Because that rhymes.
It rhymes.
So I'm the woman with the plan.
The woman
Then it
with
still
the plan.
rhymes. Get it?
Why are we here, Sandy?
Why are we here? Well, we didn't make it in June, and our apologies for being a couple days late. However, there was a lot of sickness in our home in the month of June.
Yes, there was. And we're very happy to be past that.
We are very happy. It took a few weeks, but now all three of us are better. So we have voices. We won't be coughing throughout the whole episode, and we can update you on what's been happening.
That's the plan.
That is the plan. Now, if you watch our YouTube channel, there were signs of life. We were still doing some stuff and posting some videos. Yeah. But
you can see me carrying my box of tissues around.
That's true. And you can hear it in the voices when we were talking. But we did have, a good month, all things considered.
Yeah, we did an adventure to the west coast of Florida, which is on YouTube. We went to the Sunseeker Resort.
Yep.
So we posted that.
And we also stayed at a really nice, the Luminous Hotel. Luminary, that's it. Luminary Hotel in Fort Myers. You had your foot doctor appointment, and we just try to make something fun out of the weekend.
Yes. And I'm filling in right now because Sandy's getting a drink of water to prevent coughing.
It's true. It's still there a little bit.
Okay.
So anyway, it was my birthday weekend, your Father's Day weekend. We were able to go away. We didn't get to spend as much time down at the pool as we hoped because of the sickness, but we were happy that we were able to go down the morning of with Bryce before we left and enjoy it. And so, even if we don't get hours of quality family time, even getting that little bit was just good for our souls,
Yeah, he was in the pool and a couple of kids were throwing a ball with their dad. So he just kind of integrated himself into their little ball throwing game.
He did. He played with them at first, which was really great.
I'm just so proud of him lately, just inserting him into conversations, himself into conversations, and just, I don't know, he's not shy. I will say that.
He's not shy, and it's becoming less awkward for him. Mm-hmm. He's like transitioning in a little more seamlessly. He's like figuring out what to say.
He's still working on explaining.
He is. He's missing details sometimes.
Things.
Yeah, it's true.
He'll start out like, he'll start naming the days of the week that he changed. Moon Day, Taco Day, Wet Day.
Turkey Day,
out of the blue.
Fries Day.
And he won't tell you that, I renamed all the days of the week.
And this is why.
Yeah.
I know. So. Some people are a little lost, but some of them will say, why is that? And then he will figure out he needs to explain it. He's doing good. He's really, it's been a good month as far as all of that goes and calming. And that's kind of the headline that I had for this podcast, was that you and I have really shifted our focus a bit from not just looking at autism for him and how to help him with that, but also the ADHD, because I feel like that has surfaced more, especially with puberty. You can just see it in different ways. And so one of the things that you discovered, so for those who are newer to the podcast and you haven't listened to the other 149 episodes, we have chosen to not put Bryce on any medications for ADHD. Anything neurologically related like that, we're trying to do all natural ways. So he has quite an
supplement,
quite a list
regimen.
of supplements. Yeah, quite a regimen of supplements that he takes. And for the most part, it's been really great. He has taken the prescription leucovorin for the past couple of years before it made headlines. And that has been helpful for him. However, something has still been off. And what we've discovered is that his emotions are ahead of his logic. And so he will react to things in a split second with his emotions before his brain can even catch up. And then when his brain catches up, then he's upset that he's reacted the way that he did because he couldn't control it. You know, he's very impulsive. And so we've been trying to figure out how we could help him with that, because we understand it's things beyond his control, but yet are there ways that we can help him? And can we do that without putting him on some type of medication? And I'm not saying it's wrong for other people, because I think at a certain point it may be a necessity for him. But if we're able to find an alternative, that's just what we would prefer at this time. So having said that, you went on your search.
You know, medication
has side effects.
Every medication has a side effect.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, made from God and perfect for the body, you know. So we try our best to find natural ways to help him. And up to this point, we've been very successful, I'd say.
We have. So I want you to just kind of go into where you discovered, is it the NAC? Is that the correct acronym?
So, I mean, AI, ChatGPT has been super helpful on some things, and you always have to double check ChatGPT or any AI to make sure that the information is relevant. So I plugged in some behaviors that we were seeing going on, and I explained to the AI all of the conditions that Bryce has and the fact that he has suspected cerebral folate deficiency, which a lot of kids and adults on the spectrum have. But the only way to verify that is to do a spinal tap. So that's removing spinal fluid and examining the cells from the spinal fluid. And it can be a very painful procedure. The other way to look at that is to, if you suspect cerebral folate deficiency from other clues, the other aspect is to treat it as if you do have it and see if you get good results from the supplements. And so we had good results from the supplements that he's taken for that, one of which is glutathione. And then I asked, you know, I don't even know how it came up with the conversation with AI, but NAC, which I can't remember what the acronym stands for off the top of my head right now, but it's a supplement over the counter that helps with the cerebral folate deficiency chain. So we were treating it at the beginning and at the end of the chain, and the NAC goes in the middle. And so I was like, okay, maybe it's a missing link that would help Bryce. So
right.
As with all AI, like I said, you have to confirm everything. So I emailed his doctor, and
this is his autism doctor.
Yeah, his autism specialist. And I said, hey, you know, just wondering, can a NAC help with these behaviors? Could it be something that we're missing that could complete his regimen for the CFD, cerebral folate deficiency? So the doctor came back and said, hey, yes, we can absolutely try that. Some kids do well with it. Others get hyper on it. So just start out at the lower dose and we'll see how it goes. So I ordered it off of Amazon, and the company that we use mostly, I would say, is called Pure Encapsulations.
Yeah.
They have the most natural casing for their capsules, the least amount of unneeded ingredients in their supplements. So they've been a good company that we've stuck with, and they have good reviews and everything. So we plugged that in a few weeks ago.
It was a few weeks ago, and Bryce had his cognitive behavior session last week, and normally it's every other week, but because of sickness, it had been 3 weeks since she had seen us. And when we had seen her the last time, we came in with all kinds of notes and concerns.
Yeah.
And you found it just after we saw her, and then we started it because we were like, we're not sure what to do. Is this beyond your realm? Should we go another direction?
Right.
Like
and this
that sort
had
of
to
thing.
do with self-injurious behaviors, right? So the quick reaction to things. So for instance, for example, he gets an answer wrong in school that he thought was correct. He can get upset in an instant and pound a desk or throw the mouse before his brain even has a chance to think.
Right.
It's just like an automatic reaction. So our cognitive behavior therapist was giving us tools to say, okay, well, have him hug himself or take deep breaths, squeeze something. But all of this was happening way before his brain could even think of doing any of those. So we thought, well, maybe we're at the end of the road of cognitive behavior, and maybe we need to go to like a psychologist,
Mm-hmm.
a neuropsychologist. Mm-hmm. So, and that was about the time that I found the NAC.
Right. So he started taking that, and then when she observed him this last time, she just said, wow.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? And I said, what do you mean? And she says, he's so calm today. I've never seen him this calm. And it had been a couple weeks since we had given it to him, and it had been a few weeks since we had seen her. So I didn't immediately put it together. And I said, oh, well, yeah, this is what we've tried since, we last talked. Because she had given us another thing to look into, which is natural, which we may consider as well. And it focuses in specifically for ADHD thinking and behaviors. But we didn't want to start two things at one time, not knowing what would be helping, right?
Exactly.
So we started the NAC first, and she could see immediately that there was a difference. She could feel the difference, And for those who watch him on the YouTube videos, I mean, he's still himself. He's silly, he's spontaneous, he's fun, he's loving, he's all those things. But there's a difference. It's a difference because he wasn't anxious, and he wasn't pacing, and he wasn't nervous around her, and he was just calm. He was just very calm. And that was great, because at that time, that's how he needs to be. There's a time to be excited, and there's a time to be calm, and and it was really, really encouraging for for her to observe that.
Did he have any worries that I wasn't here? So did he have any worries?
Yeah.
That he
So
expressed?
He didn't have anything specific. There was one that had come up earlier in the day, and he and I talked about it, and he just shared that with her. Mm-hmm. The only thing he was worried about was having to talk to her in depth again, because the last time we had met with her, we had that big, long family discussion, and that was hard on him. Yeah. And he told me that was really hard for him to talk about all those things and to talk that much.
Yeah, so that he would be talking about the self-injurious behaviors that he had done, and he doesn't want to
want to relive it
that. He doesn't,
because it makes him sad.
Sure.
And when he does things, it's
that.
nothing severe. Like he doesn't hit his head on the wall, and he doesn't do anything that causes severe harm.
But I mean, he hits things hard though.
Oh, he
so
does.
We're worried that he might break.
This
a
is
finger
the thing.
or
He doesn't
something.
know his own strength, and he will pinch himself.
Yeah, he pinches
and
himself.
He's now told me the other day, and you don't know this, but at school, he was worried that one of the answers was going to be wrong during math. So he told me he was prepared to bite his lip because I couldn't see it. So and I said to him, well, that's you planning ahead. That's not beyond your control.
Right.
If you can think about what you're going to do, then that's not your emotions being ahead of your thinking.
And this is new.
Right. So we're trying to help him understand that. So when I said, I've bit my lip before and it's painful. So it's not something that you want to do. If you can control it, and don't be thinking that in advance. You need to be thinking positive things.
So we've been wanting to get ahead of this because, as he gets bigger and stronger,
he is going to injure himself.
We don't want him to hurt
unintentionally.
himself. So, but since he's been on this NAC, it's like he knows what's coming and he can prepare himself.
That is the key. We have been able to talk about things. And even when he got an incorrect answer and he was like, he was like paused and thinking. And then I said, you're thinking. So you've already realized it. So you can't do anything now. Okay. Now we need to talk ourselves down. And we did. And we talked through it. And he didn't do anything to hurt himself. He didn't throw the mouse. I said, hand it to me. And we were able to get through it. Was he upset? Yes. And he's got to work through those emotions. I get that. And with Bryce, the reason why, and he's been able to tell us this now because we've dealt with this for years at different levels, but he tells us he points any anger or rage that comes upon him like that toward himself because he doesn't want to hurt anybody else
or any other
and he doesn't
thing.
want to hurt any other thing.
Yeah.
And so he directs it toward himself because he feels like he can feel it and control it. Like he would know when it was too much. Yeah. But it obviously breaks our hearts that he's doing anything to himself. So again, I'm so pleased that this month compared to the prior month, we've been able to talk more. And that's all we're saying. Like, let's just use our words. Let's just talk through it. It's okay. Emotions are okay. You're going to have big feelings. You're going to feel things. You're going to be upset. There will be rage. But
I feel like he's handling it better.
Yeah, when we talk about it, then we can work through it. When you get sad, let's talk about it. It's okay to cry. Like if he feels tears coming, he'll try to hit his eyes because he wants the tears to stay inside. And we're like, it's okay. You can let them out. That's part of nature. So it's him trying to learn to understand his emotions, how to work with his emotions. But I do believe, like you said, he has deficits that are beyond his control. So when we can help fill in those gaps for him with supplements like that, that helps him a long way. Yeah. And that's what we've seen, in the month of June. That has been very encouraging. And we take it one day, 1 week, 1 month at a time, but it hasn't worried me as much for him because I can see the progress that we're making, even in school. Yes, there can be a wrong answer. In fact, on his math, I felt terrible, but there was one problem that I misunderstood what they had because we're getting into algebra stuff. And I redirected him the wrong way, and he got that answer wrong. Everything else was right on his exam, but boy, before, I can't even imagine how bad that would have gone down and how long he would have held that against me.
Yeah.
But we really were able to talk through that. And it's not that he wants to be a perfectionist. He told me he's afraid of how he will feel if he gets something wrong, not that he's afraid of getting something wrong. There's a difference. So, just lots and lots of progress, lots of good talking, lots of talking about feelings and getting that out. And so,
also, we established a new neurologist for him.
Yeah.
In June, because we're concerned he's going into puberty, and his prior neurologist said, well, this can be the time where there's an uptick in seizure activity because he was born with a stroke. He had seizures when he was a baby, and then we were able to wean him off of the medication, and he hasn't had any seizures since, thankfully. They do what's called an EEG, where they put all the leads on your head. You spend the night at the outpatient center, and they record your brain waves, and they even try to trigger a seizure by flashing lights and doing other things, hyperventilating, just to see what the threshold is. And Bryce has done really well with those in the past. The new neurologist said, I'm not going to worry about that until we see something that looks like a seizure, because EEGs can be interpreted different ways. And so
he also said that his EEG will always show sharps and spikes as it has, because as long as he has damage on his brain, which he does, and that's going to stay there, there's always going to be something.
Yeah. So we don't, want to misinterpret that. So, and then what we told him about his behaviors, and what did he refer us to?
He just said the psychologist as well.
Okay. So we haven't taken the step to the psychologist because things have been better these past couple of weeks. So we're just going to kind of camp out and see how it goes. And what else did we do?
This past month?
Yeah, we packed a lot in, even though we were...
Well, we went out to the condo for the weekend. That's when Bryce got sick.
Out to the beach. Yeah.
Yep, so we did Bryce didn't even get to go to the pool. He didn't get to go to the beach. He stayed in his room because he was sick, and we were trying to not catch the cold, although we ended up catching it. But he was still able to do a laundry video, and he was able to do the condo video before he really got sick. Bryce loved staying out there.
I know what I wanted to mention.
And then we did the bus tour. That was since the last podcast.
Bryce really has a hard time going from inside to outside in a bright, sunny day. And I'm curious, if you're listening to this on YouTube, maybe you can comment, or if you're on listening to another platform, maybe you can shoot us an email at parentingautism@att.net. His stroke when he was a baby was partially in the occipital lobe, which is the vision. And I was just wondering if anybody else out there has a problem when you go into a bright scenario where they're covering their eyes and it's hard for them to see, but they eventually adjust to it, once they're outside for a little bit. But it's that initial shock factor when they walk outside. It's like, oh, and he doesn't want to wear sunglasses for whatever reason. I can't figure that out. But
I know.
I'm just curious if any of our listeners have experienced that, or this, I guess it could be related to his stroke.
Right. We don't know if it's related to autism or if it's, because he does have sound sensitivity, and he has some sensitivity to textures and touch, but we don't know, like, with the vision for sure.
And also, we had our friend Jessica bring her dog over today, just to see how Bryce would react, because one of his things that he hates is dogs barking, especially little dogs. So they brought their puppy over. We're trying to get him acclimated more around dogs, and the puppy didn't bark, and Bryce was very comfortable. And you even asked him, Bryce, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your worries? I don't know how you put it, but what's your number? And he said 0. So I was very happy to hear that.
I know. And this was something that his therapist had recommended, that we it's not like setting him up to fail. So I don't want to say it that way, but it is something that Bryce needs to learn how to speak up when something is bothering him. That's the end goal. So I knew our friends had this puppy, and I also knew that she told me that the puppy was well behaved and really was not a barker much, unless they tried to make him bark, like to be playful. And I said, well, I don't want him to bark unless it's naturally barking, but the whole goal was they brought the puppy here. Because if we had gone to their house, let's say we went in and the puppy started barking right away and Bryce reached the 5, from 1 to 10, and 5 means we need to leave now because we don't want you to get to 10, then he would have been sad because he would have had to leave the house and leave his friends and not play. Yeah. So I said, okay, how about if you bring the puppy here and his friend Deacon could stay, and if Bryce reached a 5 and needed the puppy to leave, then our friend Jess could take him and be gone and then come back later and get Deacon, right? So we had a good plan that I felt comfortable with, as long as Bryce would speak up. And then I just made sure this morning that Bryce understood, you got to tell me if you feel it, you got to give me words, I'll check too, but I want you to speak up. So that's why we checked before he came. And I said, what are you feeling now? He goes, nothing. I'm like, okay. And then I checked midway because he was definitely hesitant. I think he was more afraid that it could happen. Yeah. So you could tell the puppy's adorable and soft. And so he would be like, he would touch him and he would be okay. He didn't want to hold him. He didn't want to get too much because I think he was afraid, what if I get close and he barks and then I get upset. But really, he did great with him. It didn't faze him at all. And I thought that in itself was good because, again, a lot of Bryce's anxiety comes from what could happen and not even what has happened. And he's dealing with that at his speech and OT place right now. So it's summer, and in summer they have more kids who come in and kids that aren't there during the regular fall and spring season for Bryce. And so we can hit some bumps in the summer. So there's a little girl, I guess, who can be loud, and they've had her sharing the same room with Bryce and another therapist. So she came in and she wasn't even doing anything, but Bryce was uncomfortable because he knew that she could.
She could scream. And so unprompted.
He said, I'm not comfortable with her here. Well, first I think he said something like, I don't want her in here. And they're like, well, you can't. They're trying to teach him. Don't say it that way. She hasn't even done anything. And how would you feel if she said she didn't want you in here? But if you're concerned or you want to leave the room, just say, can I go to another room? I don't feel comfortable or I don't feel safe. Use your words that way, right? So then when she came in the next time, I guess it happened again. And I said, can we not let that happen again? Yeah. And I said, she goes, no, I'm going to have it changed because I don't want to torture him. She goes, but one of our goals was self-advocating. Yeah. So when she came in, I didn't take him out immediately because I wanted him to self-advocate. Yeah. And she said he did right on the spot and he said it the right way. Would it be okay? Can I leave the room now? And I said, absolutely. That's what the therapist said. And she took him out. And so she told me, I said, so next week we won't have this? And she said, no, next week we won't. I said, okay. Because I told her, I don't want him not wanting to come here. And that is what's going to happen. It's happened before and it will happen again. Yep. And so they got the message and that is good.
Good. That's what I would have said.
I know. And he did pass the test and he said self-advocate and that's great. But another day when I was there and I was in the lobby, which I've told you about, but I'll share, is there was a girl and I don't know how old she was, but I'm going to say it wasn't toddler. So I would say 5 or 6 years old. And she came in full speed and full volume. It made me jump. Well, Bryce, before he could even say a word to me or anybody, immediately darted outside of the building toward the parking lot. And it is a very busy parking lot at pickup and drop-off time. And so I immediately was behind him. And then when I went, he was trying to hide behind this little tree because there's really nothing to hide behind. He was in a safe space. But still, I was like, wow, he moved so quick. And there was no warning and there was no time to stop. So again, that's one of those impulsive things, right? Where he's reacting before his brain can even kick in. All he knew was I got to get out of here and get out now. So his therapist came out with me and she was so good. She immediately saw this large lizard on the sidewalk and goes, Bryce, look at those. I have those at my house. And she like took him to a whole different topic, got him to talk about the lizard, all of that. And then we didn't want to reprimand him for leaving the room because we understood why he did. So I just said, hey, buddy, I saw that you were hiding over here. And I understand that was scary when she came in. And you did the right thing by leaving. And you didn't run into the parking lot, but my concern would be that if you didn't see a car, you could have gone like right out there, you know what I'm saying? Because your brain was just like going before you could think. Your emotions were taking you out. I said, so I don't want you to think you did anything wrong. It's just next time, if you can try to use those words or grab my hand or I go with you, that would be the best way. Mm-hmm. But, so you try to point out all the good things, but add those notes of concern so he knows what to do.
But if you think about it, if he grabbed your hand, there is a possibility, or the therapist's hand, there is a possibility that they would hold him back, like, don't run away. And so I could see him not wanting to do that because there's a possibility that I might be stuck in this environment.
Right.
But
if you use your words, I need to leave, grab my hand. It's got to get some words too.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
But again, so we tell him to leave if you don't feel safe. However, leaving the building without somebody, not the best idea. But he goes, but look, Mommy, here's what I did. And I said, I see what you did. And you did good. You stayed in a safe space. It's just, you don't know who's going to be at that door and all that. So that's just kind of what we've been dealing with, you know?
So back to the dogs. There's a dog at my work, and sometimes I take Bryce to work with me. And it's a larger dog, and he's come to know him, and he's not a barker. So Bryce has that experience of being around a larger dog that doesn't bark, and he mentioned that the other day.
He did. He says that he likes Chase because he's quiet, or Chance.
Yeah, Chance.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's a quiet dog. He's a good dog, and I really like him. And he's like, I like big dogs. And it's true that the smaller dogs tend to bark more. For whatever reason. Like, I had Bandit, and he was a large dog, but he hardly ever barked. He did howl, but it's not like he barked at everything that was passing by the house. He wouldn't do that.
It's different. But I was glad that he could see that a small dog could also be non-threatening to him,
Yeah.
Because he has had a couple of bad experiences, and I get it.
And also, Bryce, on a different subject, he's gotten to the age where he is aware of how he looks. So he's not wearing his headphones, I think for two reasons. One is he's getting better about his environment and surroundings and being able to handle unexpected noises. And then two, he's like, I don't, they look funny. I don't want to wear my headphones. And because he probably sees that other people are not wearing them. So he's a little self-aware of that. But we try to reassure him that other kids do wear them. They listen to music with them.
I've pointed it out.
But still he's like, no, I don't think I want to do that. So, but they're there if he needs them.
Well, that was the thing, because it came up, because I said, well, why don't you take your headphones in to therapy specifically? And then he's like, no, because I don't want to look weird. And I said, well, they don't look weird, but I understand what you're saying. And then there's another boy his age that's there, and he came up at that time, and he had him around his neck. And I said, look, so-and-so's wearing them. I said, and, they look fine on him. And then we were someplace else, and somebody had them around their neck, and it wasn't even at an autistic, environment. And I said, look, that kid's wearing them. I think they use them to wear them. It was an athlete that I saw. I said, they wear them. So and I said, that's fine if you don't want to, but I'm trying to show you that people can wear them, and nobody's going to think that they look weird.
Yeah.
So you're okay if you need them.
Yeah. Even on our YouTube channel, we have a merchandise store, and one of the shirts that we made for him, it has his character on it, and he's in an elevator, and the character has headphones around his neck, and he's like, I don't like that one because it shows headphones. So
right, he'll still wear the shirt because he does, but we were designing a new one, so we took that character to drive a school bus.
Yeah,
and he right away said, I don't want the headphones.
Yeah.
And I said, are you sure? Because it's on the other one. And he's like, no, I don't want them. So I said, okay. So the new one with the bus driver is not wearing the headphones. And I did a new one for laundry. Mm-hmm. And that one is also, he's not going to wear the headphones going forward. Right. Unless Bryce wants them back.
On the shirt.
So the elevator will be a classic.
Right. Yeah. So.
That's going to be, with the headphones, and the others will be without. And that's okay because you know what? Sometimes he wears them and sometimes he doesn't. So that's his character.
So we've got some fun shirts if you want to check them out. They're on our YouTube channel, and then there's a little button that says store. So if you go to that, you scroll through the shirts, you'll be able to see all the different ones.
Yeah. Bryce really enjoys wearing them and having them out. And he does really take great interest in what he's wearing now. And he wants to know what's on his shirt. And he tries to have a theme for his socks and for his shirts. And, so it's fun. And so if we could have these shirts that have his interest on them, that's what it's really about. And then if other people see them and they like them too because they share those same interests, we thought, hey, well, then that would be cool. We'll put them on there. And believe me, we're not doing it to make money off of it. We make a few dollars. We just try to get them out there so other people can enjoy them.
I think they're all priced at like $17 or $18.
$18.99. And like I said, I think it's like less than $4 for us, and that's really just so we can kind of cover some other costs. So it's all good.
Yeah.
So we've had some fun with that, and then we did. I think last time we mentioned we were going to be doing the bus tour, and we did, and it was a great hit.
Success.
And it was our local school board, Department of Transportation, and they gave us a newer Thomas C2 line. Bryce knows all the names, and actually I was going to bring him in so he could kind of talk about that.
Yeah.
And
I think he's on with Michael.
Yeah, so let me see, because he did say he would come in and talk, but we talked about that.
So he won't come in, I don't think.
Yeah, you're right. He is. He's playing with Michael now. So you won't get him this round, but anyway, it was great. It was him and Michael that we took, and it was definitely an amazing day.
It was a school bus depot, and they had a bus pulled out for us already running in the parking lot. So we went into the office, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're expecting you." And they had their best bus driver out there, and so Michael and Bryce got on the bus, and they were able to sit in the driver's seat and get their picture taken and sit in the bus seats. And then the driver took us around the parking lot, and then we went through the bus wash.
Yeah,
it's
the
like
bus
a car wash
wash
for buses. And so that was exciting. And then we pulled up to the bus gas station, which is all on the same property, so they could see where the buses got gas. And then they also had the repair shop there.
And Michael's school bus happened to be there. It broke
repair.
down the day before.
Yeah, so he was so excited to see his bus in the repair shop. And it was just a great time when we can't thank those people enough for accommodating us and the boys. They were over the moon about that tour.
They really were, and we did not realize how many people love school buses until we put that video, and we got a lot of new subscribers. So shout out to our school bus fans out there. We got sick just after we did that, and so I haven't been able to coordinate anything else, but just so you know, I'm working on something else.
Things are in the works,
school bus related for Bryce, and we're working on that. And then Bryce also wants you to know that we are going to the Guitar Hotel in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And so we'll be
doing a
tour there, and the boys, we're taking Michael. We said we were doing it for 3,000 subscribers, and again, we all got sick and we couldn't go, and we reached 4,000 subscribers before we could even
get to the
plan
hotel.
to do what we were going to do for the 3,000 subscribers. So we're very excited to have so many people reaching out to us and commenting and sharing and enjoying it, and just knowing that we're bringing happiness to people brings us a lot of happiness.
Yeah, and for those that don't know what the Guitar Hotel is, it's a hard rock hotel in Hollywood, Florida, and it's in the shape of a guitar, and it's one of the places that Bryce has really wanted to go to. So
Yeah.
We're excited to be able to take him. It's not too far from home. We can drive there, and it's going to be good.
Yeah, and we've visited there before, so he's seen it and driven by it, but we've not stayed in a room to where we could have access to the elevator and see what a room is like. So, yeah, he's super excited.
Yeah.
But I think that's,
That was a lot.
That was a lot, and that's kind of what's been going on. And
it was a lot for a month that we were half sick for.
That is the truth. But anyway, so I'm sure we'll be back with more updates in July. And
yep. Happy 4th of July, everyone.
And thanks again for listening. And I always like to say, may the Lord bless you and may his light shine upon you.
There you go.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.